Welcome back to the discussions. In these technical sessions, I just wanted to discuss a few important points regarding single women who have been considered as most vulnerable sections in the recent past. And my study basically on the basis of a work that has been initiated by me with respect to socio-economic and legal status of single women. And of course, they are also have been considered as most vulnerable section. I will just refer some Sanskrit sloka, but I am not very particular about this Sanskrit sloka, but still we used to come across, because when we are making reference to various Latin maxims, that came to my mind that why don't we make a reference to some of this Sanskrit sloka that is immensely available for our studies. That a comparative statement has been made. And it is said that Pita Rakshita Kaumari, Bharta Yovane Rakshita, Putra Rakshita Ardhaike Na Sri Swatantram Arhati. It means a woman is protected by father in her childhood. Her husband protects her in youth, and in old age, she should be protected by her son. At no stage in her life should a woman be left alone and destitute. This is a sloka given by Manu in the Manusmriti. Many understanding, interpretations, explanations can be made to this particular sloka, that I'm going to take it up. And I don't dispute with the statement that a girl should be protected by her father in her childhood. But to many progressive thinkers, I kindly ask all of you to mute it. Mute Madi.
Yes, sir.
Lalita Bhai.
Yes,
Mute Madi. Kutkuli. And the second phrase, her husband. She is expected to protect by her husband. And of course, naturally, she must be protected by her son during her old age. And I'm going to discuss it afterwards. Again, yatra naryanstu pujyante ramanentu tatra devata. That's what actually, but nanige personally, I don't want to stress upon this particular sloka. But anyway, I feel that it is relevant where women are honored, divinity blossoms, and where women are dishonored. All actions, no matter how noble, remains unfruitful. And there is one more sloka, Putran Shokam Nirantaram. The grief of the death of one's son is eternal. Now it is said that why a woman should be honored. Respect is different. Honor is different. I respect, number one, women. And number two is that treat her as just human being. Treat her as a just human being. The progressive thinker says like that. Please mute. Please mute. Progressive thinker says that. So, Putra Shokam Nirantaram andaga, the grief of the death of one son is eternal. There is no reference in connection with the death of a daughter. And the male-dominated society will be further confirmed by virtue of this sloka. And it is said that definition of a person, a human being regarded as an individual, living soul, that is in general. Please make note of it. Legally, a person is a bearer of rights and duties. And as we have already discussed, two kinds of person, natural and a legal person. And again, some Latin maxims I just wanted to. This is found to be very relevant. Conjunctio meriti et femine est jure naturae. The union of a man and woman is law of nature. Matrimonia debent esse libera. That means marriage ought to be free. Marriage ought to be free. Consensus, not concubitus facit matrimonium. Consent, not cohesion, that constitute marriage. The next one is that matrimonium subsequent legitimus facit. Subsequent marriages makes the issue legitimate, as the case may be. There are certain issues that we are expected to discuss from the point of society and also from the point of the law. As we have already made it very clear, from the realm of jurisprudence, society is faster than that of the law. And you cannot tame the society only by the law, as the case may be. Because marriage ought to be free and the union of man and woman is law of nature and the whether the marriage is a prerequisite or not, that's still $1 million questions. And the consent, not cohesion, that constitute a marriage. Whereas in a special contract, you can just say that. You can just say that. A man and a woman, if they are living in together, a woman can claim the status of wife, as the case may be. Now, come to the main crux. Is marriage a matter of choice? Then we wanted to discuss. A marriage is a civil and religious contract whereby a man is joined and united to a woman for the purpose of civilized society. Section 112 of Indian Evidence Act 1872 says, an act of marrying, the ceremony by which two persons are made husband and wife, particularly matrimonial unions. Now, is a matter of choice. Choice ku chance ku bere vyathyasam. Choice, in case of a choice, it's only optional. It's only optional. In case of a chance, it is inevitable. It is inevitable. For example, making a friend is a matter of a choice. Having a relation is a matter of a chance. I hope you agree with my point. Now, the question comes before us is that whether marriage, even today, when you make a reference to Hindu Marriage and Divorce Act 1939, or for example, Muslim Marriage Act and Marriage and Divorce Act 1939, and Hindu Marriage Act 1955, or Special Marriage Act, as the case may be, it says that marriage should be contract. Marriage should be made as a contract. But in the Indian perspective, marriage has not been considered as a contract. Under the feminist jurisprudence, it is said that if marriage is not considered as a contract, some people and a progressive thinker opines that it's just a reaffirmation and a revival of the male-dominated society in our country. And this is not my statement. Please make note of it. This is not my statement. This is a statement made by many experts. It is said that because if you consider marriage as a contract, the extent of the responsibility, the extent of the rights, the extent of the duties can be easily be determined and distributed to both husband and wife. Whereas if you consider marriage is a sacred relationship between husband and wife, these rights, duties, responsibility will be very much opposite. And rights can be claimed only by the husband, and responsibility and the duties can be borne only by the wife. That's what actually it is said that. Now, let me make a reference to few cases. So this is one celebrated cases decided by the House of Lords in the year 1844. Now we mean to say that Christian marriages. I think you have already discussed it. For the validity of a marriage and for the solemnization of a marriage in a Christian community, presence of episcopically ardent priest is must. I am just making it very clear. Please make note of it. For making a marriage valid, presence of episcopically ardent priest is must. It means in the absence of episcopically ardent priest, if the marriage is solemnized, the House of Lords in the year 1844 said that such marriages are void ab initio, not voidable, not invalid. Let me make it very clear. So void, voidable, and invalid. These three terms are entirely different, as the case may be. Commonly, you meant to say that, but in fact, in the Indian context, it is something better. But even in the Indian context, for the validity of a Christian marriage, presence of episcopically ardent priest is must. Even today, you can ask and you can actually say that. So in that case, in R versus Millis, the House of Lords held that without any authority. I am just making it reference because why I'm making it reference, I will explain it afterwards. In the year 1861, one more case came before the House of Lords, which is known as Beamish versus Beamish, in which it said that in the R versus Millis, presence of episcopically ardent priest is must for the validating the marriage. But in this case, by taking the authority of R versus Millis, the court held that for the validification of a marriage, a bridegroom and a priest, if he is one and the same, then also the marriage is void. In this case, what actually happened? Bridegroom as well as the episcopically ordained priest are one and the same. He was marrying a person. A priest was marrying a person, a lady. This was actually challenged by one of the close relatives that it is against two customs. India is enjoying the common law jurisprudence. Even today, custom plays a very vital role. And we are actually restricting the men or women only by the customs, if not by the act or the legislations, as the case may be. I just wanted to highlight factors for women empowerment, inventions, medical discoveries, and literatures. Now, you mean to say that by virtue of various inventions, the empowerment of a woman has been achieved. For example, medical discoveries. For example, earlier. For example, when a woman delivers a female baby, then she was subject to criticisms. That is the reasons. Now we could overcome such kind of criticisms against a lady or a woman, as the case may be. Literature. For the past 1 century, literature relating to the empowerment of women, literature relating to the enlightenment of women, through the feminist jurisprudence, has changed the mindset of almost all the people, all the women across the world. This is one important aspect. If you just make a reference to your all teachers, law teachers, I hope that you had an occasion to discuss Hindu Marriage Act, Marriage and Divorce Act 1955. If you just look at the discussion that was actually taken place in the floor of Parliament before enacting or a pre-sequel to the Hindu Marriage and Divorce Act 1955, Hindu women were not allowed to divorce her husband before the Hindu Marriage and Divorce Act was enacted. Let me make it very clear. Hindu women were not allowed, but a man in Hindu religion can go for a polygamous marriage, more than that is 2 marriages. And of course, this was also addressed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar while placing the Hindu Code Bill in the year 1951 and 52. Unfortunately, owing to the next elections, the then Nehru government did not place it because there was a fear. Now you mean to say that. Make a reference to Devian Archie, Chidambar Chettiar, and Roy versus Wade. Now you mean to say that. You make a reference to Medical Termination of a Pregnancy Act. Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, 1972. That was a problem in both these cases. Whether women has a right to go for medical termination of a pregnancy or not. Medical termination of pregnancy or not. This is very, very important from the point of understanding the rights of a woman. Now, if you make a reference to Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1972, it is said that only if the doctor gives the permission, and if it is not detrimental to the life and health of a pregnant woman, then medical termination of a pregnancy can be accommodated. Whereas the similar case was actually came before the Roe versus Wade in the year 1973, whereas in California, wherein when the lower court refused to grant a permission for medical termination of the pregnancy, an appeal was laid to the US Supreme Court. And the US Supreme Court made it very clear that 3 steps were actually offered by the Supreme Court. From the 1st to 3rd month, women can go for medical termination of the pregnancy. From 4th month to 6th month, only with the permission of the doctor, she can go for a medical termination of the pregnancy. From 6th to 9th month, under no circumstances, there will be medical termination of the pregnancy. I will just, this is for the purpose of discussion of a legal status of a single woman. In In Re Khushbu versus Kannimal, a case that was decided by the Honorable Supreme Court about 11 years back, against the statement made by the film actress Khushbu, who made a statement that in the Indian society, premarital sex was very common. She just made a reference. Stating that premarital sex is very common, against which a complaint was lodged, and the people who are worshipping by building a temple, they start actually showing the broomstick to film actress Khushbu. All of a sudden, overnight, she became a villain. And finally, it was resolved by the Honorable Supreme Court that the statement made by Khushbu in connection with the premarital sex is not offensive and it will not violate any act that is available across the country. I just wanted to make it very clear in R versus Ahluwalia, based upon which there is one movie called Provoked. A woman killed her drunkard husband, rolled his body in the bed and threw it to the nearby channel in UK, and a larger complaint. that her husband is missing. Later, when the investigation was made, it was investigated and found that she herself killed. And then when the matter came before the Court of Appeal, then she made a confession. Nevertheless, her husband was drunkard. Every day he used to beat her. On a particular day, in order to avoid his assault, in defense, she beaten him. And then that led him to the death of her husband. And later, an inquiry was actually sought. And the story goes like that. Now, the question was that about 25 years back, in a Cochin University, I think so, that was not reported, in one of the universities in Kerala. A woman becomes pregnant without marriage. When she made an application for maternity leave, her leave for the maternity leave was rejected on the ground that she was not married and she fails to produce a relevant document for solemnization of her marriage. The matter ultimately decided, which was not actually reported, saying that, and a mandamus was issued by the Supreme Court that she must be allowed to enjoy the maternity leave. And it is women alone who can enjoy the womanhood, as the case may be, by becoming a mother. Later, now Karnataka civil service rules and the central civil service rules were amended. Now, as on today, you can just see that for availing the maternity leave to a permanent employee in any government organizations, wherever the civil service rules are applicable, marriage is not prerequisite. Let me make it very clear. Please make note of it. Marriage is not prerequisite. Now, what I just wanted to tell you by referring to this aspect. Now it says that crime against women, there is always a gender-based violence, female infanticide, trafficking in women. In the last 3 decades, 30 million children and women have been trafficked. For example, one of my students did her PhD on this topic. I think her name is Valarmati. She is from Bangalore. Now she is assistant professor, associate professor, one of the law colleges in Bangalore. When she was collecting the data relating to the trafficking in women from the police station, she has taken the empirical study covering 25 police stations in Bangalore city. Surprise to my knowledge, she filed and she sought an information under the Right to Information Act. Only in one police station, she could get the data that one woman was subject to trafficking. From all the 25, But whereas the private agencies says that the data is entirely different. So what actually it says that across the world, in the last 3 decades, more than 30 million women and children are the victims of the trafficking. Now it is said that female genital mutilations, 2 million women are mutilated every year, and 98% are Somali women. Please log on to the Google or any other website, available NCRB or anything as the case may be. And then ultimately you mean to say that dowry killing and domestic violence. Now, this is some facts and the data relating to women. As per the 2011 census, there are 940 women for every 1,000 men. Now, last week, the National Family Survey of India has come out with recent data relating to the sex ratio. Please make note of it. As per 2011 census, for every 1,000 men, there were 940 women. Go back to 2001 census and 1991 census. The data is very, very shocking. Very, very shocking. Especially in a state like Punjab and Haryana, where feudalism is more. For every 1,000 men, the sex ratio of a woman was actually dropped to 888. It was earlier 861, that's what actually is. So thanks to the preconception and a prenatal diagnostic act which was enacted in the year 1994. Please make note of it. Preconception and a prenatal diagnostic act 1994, wherein detection of the sex through the amniocentesis. Let me make it once again. Detection of the sex through the amniocentesis was prohibited. And because of that, last week, the National Family Survey of India has come out with new data that for every 1,000 in our country, 1,020 women are there. And of course, this is a very developmental aspect as the case may be. Now it said that female literacy in India is 65.46 as against 83.41 in respect of male. This is very, I'm very particular about drop rates are also high with the girl child. Admissions to the primary school, high school, that is higher primary schools and high schools, and even to the up to +2, he is 100%. But in the meantime, drop rates of a girl child exceeds more than 37%. Exceed more than 37%. But the same thing is not so in the case of a male issue. Women availed only 18% of total small credit from banks in as per the 2011 census. women constitute about 25% of the formal employment in India, whereas 84% of rural women continue to be engaged in agricultural productions. This is very, very important. Some literature that is available to us is that after the enactment of the 73rd Amendment Act in the year 1993, men in the rural areas declined to work in the agricultural productions or in the agricultural field. And that responsibility is being carried out by the rural women in rural areas, as the case may be. On the one hand, we are very happy that 50% of the total reservation by virtue of 73rd Amendment Act has been accommodated for the empowerment of women in the rural self-government. But on the other hand, the extent of the responsibility in the agricultural productions has been immensely increased because of absence of men in the agricultural productions. Now, according to World Health Organizations, these data, maybe you can have it, of course. 46% of women report that their first sexual intercourse was forced. 41% of women in Colombia report that they have been physically abused with a current relationship. Access to education, as it is stated as per the UN report 2003, it was estimated that 115 million children who currently do not attend primary schools. Girls make up 57% as per United Nations Development Report 2003 of the world. Then 979 million illiterate adults are there, out of which 2/3 women are women. Over 7 trillion worth of women work goes unpaid. They are not actually given across the world. 21 billion women live on less than $2 per day, and 330 million live on less than $1 a day. This is a data offered by the World Bank. Further data as per the World Economic Forum 2020 with respect to women. Educational achievement. India stood at 112 positions. Health of Indian women stood at 150th positions. Economic partnership of a woman in India is at 159th positions. Gender equality, India stood in 112th positions. And also in a political empowerment, India stood at 18th positions. Women representation in company affairs is only 13.8%. Now you come to that. I am coming to that. Then what is women? Usually across the world, women has been considered a second sex. Alternatives, weaker sections, as the case may be. That's why few women do not want to call themselves as a woman. They say that we are and we can be addressed as woman. The term adopted by some feminists as a way of eliminating man from woman. But anyway, the decision of the court is entirely different. On so many occasions, the Supreme Court made it very clear and the High Court made it very clear. Men includes even the women also. Men includes women also. Now come to the single women. Who are there? Those who never married, they may be spinsters, they may be bachelorette, they may be widows, they may be separated, they may be deserted. Single women comprises of those who never married, widows, separated, deserted. As per the NSSO data, National Sample Survey Organizations, National Sample Survey Organizations released the data in the year 2015 that there were 71.4 million single women in India. Please make note of it. 71.4 single women in India. There is a steady increase of 39% in last 10 years. In the last 10 years. More single women can be seen between 21 to 25 years. In India, the average age of marriage, which was 19.3 years in 1990, and it became now, in the year 2011, 21.2 years. Now the question comes before us is that definition of a single. Legally speaking, if you are not legally married, it is known as single. Socially speaking, if you are not in a romantic relationship that with other persons, it is regarded as single. Personally speaking, if you think that you are a single, you are a single. Nevertheless, you are a person or a lady is married or not. And the third one is problem relating to the psychological problem. Reason for being single. Now the question comes, as I've already made it very clear, discoveries, inventions, literature. In the recent past, feminist jurisprudence, and through the feminist jurisprudence, and through its literature, that has increased the awareness about the rights of a woman. When women know their rights, their mindset will be changed. Their entitlement will be changed. Their demand will be changed. And their status will be changed. That status may be economic, political, and social status. Now, for example, from a joint family to nuclear family and to single family. And very recently, it is said that there is a trend called no marriage trend by youngsters. That means especially by girls. More and more girls are declined to go for marriage. So earlier the situation was entirely different when we were enjoying the undivided Hindu joint family. From an undivided Hindu joint family, we shift over to nuclear family. Nevertheless, nuclear family was to some extent tolerable. Now they wanted to enjoy the status of a single woman. The status of a single woman. That may be by virtue of a no marriage trend. So, empowerment of a woman through various legislations, as the case may be. Various legislations. Now, for example, earlier, as I've already made it very clear, Hindu Marriage and Divorce Act. Very recently, triple talaq was banned. Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, amended version of 1987. Domestic Violence Act was passed in the year 2005. And through the social justice, many posts have been actually reserved. Through the 74th Amendment Act, 50% of the total seats in both rural self-government and urban self-government, the seats have been reserved, as the case may be. All these things led to the empowerment of women that changed the every kind of a status in the society. Every kind of a status in the society. Women always subject to stress because of multiple responsibility. I can enjoy that, for example, many respectable women are here. Multiple responsibility will be there. They need to look after their family, their children, and their husband. And also they need to work outside the house, earn something, and contribute for the overall development of our family, as the case may be. Education is a power, as the case may be. Then that does not require more explanations, as the case may be. Education always plays a very vital role. Resistance is a form of justice. Now, what actually I just wanted to tell you. In America, the term no means it is no for all the purposes. Please make note of it. Even against harassment. Even against harassment. Now, for example, as when you make a reference to any section of the Indian Penal Code, nothing is referred relative to the marital rape or spousal rape, as the case may be. It is not at all an offense, strictly speaking. But in America, it is not so. Even against her, when a woman says that, no means, it is a placard will be there in almost all the education institutions. No means no for every purposes. That means resistance is a form of justice. When you demand anything, if it is in the form of a resistance, you can say that. Now, for example, now, for the past few years, a bill is pending before the floor of the parliament in connection with the reproductive rights of a woman. This is very, very important from the point of understanding. What actually the reproductive rights of a woman? There is a lot of hue and cry. Whether the reproductive rights that can be enjoyed by a woman as an inherent right is feasible to the Indian society, which is conventional and traditional or not. And the discussion is being done. And the parliament fails to arrive at a consensus. Parliament fails to arrive at a consensus in order to discuss anything about it. And the result is big cipher. Nevertheless, the rights of a woman are being increased because of the better understanding of the rights of a woman by women folk, as the case may be. Now, why you want to know, for example, no, it is like that. If a girl is married, and some people say that it's just assassination of their liberty. Men also feels like that. Men also feels like that. As the case may be. Now, whether marriage is a prerequisite for the emancipation of a person or not, a question comes before us. Now, the very important thing is that, very important. Now, for example, in the Nulal case, it was said that even without marriage, both men and women are living in together, and if it exceeds, if their relationship exceeds more than 6 months, then they should be treated as husband and wife for many things, as the case may be. Now the question comes before us is that I made a reference to the R versus Millis and a Bemis versus Bemis. Also made a reference to the so-called various enactments, that is Hindu Marriage and Divorce Act 1955, and a Muslim Marriage and Divorce Act 1939, and a Child Marriage Restraint Act 1929, and very recently it has been amended, as the case may be. Now it is said that whether the marriage, as I have already made it very clear, is it a must or it's an option? It is optional, but the society will never allow you to become single. There are so many social obligations on it. That's why it is said that you being one person, a woman being a single, she come out with various problems. It may be loneliness, a social rejection will be there, and then exploitation will be there. She will be the worst victim of the superstition. There will be no maintenance at all. Divorce settlement will not be there. And it's not easy to access the government entitlement and exploitation because there is no person to defend her, as the case may be. Now, there are so many things. For example, whether a woman living in together is considered as a single woman or not. A question comes before us. Now, for example, a woman or a girl who is living in together with a man considered as a single woman or not. A problem always arises because, as we have already referred, by R versus Millis and by Bemis versus Bemis, only when the marriage is solemnized as per the customs or as per the law, then their progeny will be there and the succession matter can be validated, as the case may be. But in a case of a living in together, there is no presence of marriage. Okay? There is no evidence that they got into the marriage contract. That cannot be so easily be. That cannot be so easily be produced, the evidence before the court of law. Just for the fact that they are living in together, if a woman can be treated as a single woman or not. Now, the question comes before us is that practically speaking, a man and a woman is living in together without marriage. That woman lodges a complaint against that man under the Domestic Violence Act and also under the Dowry Prohibition Act. Whether protection can be given to that particular woman or not. Now you tell me that. Please make part of it. Whether the protection can be given under the Dowry Prohibition Act or not, you just tell me that. Anybody?
Sir, when we read the provisions of Dowry Prohibition Act, very definition of dowry by one party to another party. I don't think so. Dowry harassment cases can be filed against a man.
If the marriage is not solemnized.
If the marriage is not solemnized, because there's no marriage, because in connection with the marriage, the word is there.
Right.
Okay. So dowry harassment cases cannot be filed.
How about the domestic violence?
Yes, sir. It can be, sir.
Why it is so?
In a definition, it was clearly held that in the nature of marriage. Any violence occurred with respect to the marriage or in the nature of marriage. In the nature of marriage, I think this is the first act which recognized live-in relationship in India.
Dhanulal case. Dhanulal case. I am making a reference to it. Okay. Right. Now you tell me that. If that is the case, now for example, a man is already married to a woman. Okay, I hope the question was raised by Mahesh. A man was already married a woman, and during the lifetime of first wife, he is living in together with another woman. Right? Or during the lifetime of first wife, he married another girl. Okay. That second wife lodges a complaint against such person under the Domestic Violence Act and also under the Dowry Prohibition Act. What will be the case? Please mute yourselves. Now you can tell.
So marriage itself is invalid, what we feel, because the first wife, she is alive, and then he has not taken divorce.
Correct, madam.
So that is there, and then that amounts to adultery also. Because the first wife is in, and then marriage is continued.
Madam, Subhalakshmi, madam, one thing.
Yes, sir.
Adultery can be filed only when it is complained by the first wife.
First wife, yes, sir.
There are certain cases where first wife will never lodge a complaint. Then what will be the case, madam? Correct. What you say, that is correct. You may come across this kind of cases.
Yes, sir. Sometimes, sir.
Sometimes not sometimes. Regularly, we will
yeah,
come across. No, it's okay. We will
actually
not discuss prejudice with anybody else, but I'm just giving you the discuss the problem related to single women. Why they are?
Sir. Sir, what we can say is the second wife, like a deemed like wife now because she married to him. But it is not, the marriage itself is not valid, what I say, sir.
Yeah, just because, no, I will put it in this way, madam. Just because her marriage is void ab initio, do you mean to say that she is not entitled to get the protection? What is the purpose of enacting the Domestic Violence Act in the year 2005? And what is the purpose of enacting the Dowry Prohibition Act in the year 1961 and the amended version 1987? Whether to protect the woman or not, or whether to exclude the woman on the guise that marriage happens to be void. No, you agree? Did you agree with that, madam? The very purpose of enacting the Domestic Violence Act and the Dowry Prohibition Act is to protect the woman. Correct?
Women, yes.
On the guise of treating that marriage as a void, if you decline to protect her, the very purpose of the act would be defeated, madam.
Yes, sir. That is true. Because that second lady got married to him. Somehow, this particular domestic violence also comes into picture, and then
certainly.
Dowry also, definitely.
That's what actually I'm telling you. No, there are people, because many people wanted to become single. Now, for example, you know that Mother Teresa was a single woman, or Tabu, for example, for the matter, was a single woman. They never inclined to go for marriage, or for example, many more such celebrated women remained as a single woman. They don't believe in the marriage bond. Correct? No, that means marriage is not at all necessary. Okay. But the parental views are not like that, strictly speaking. Every parent wanted to say that I being a parent of a daughter, wanted to say that my daughter should get a good bridegroom, and she should settle in her life. There may be some security, as the case may be, because societal norms are there like that, as the case may be. Okay?
Yes, sir.
This is what actually I just wanted to. On the one hand, the court says that in Dhanulal case, living in together, a woman can enjoy the status of a wife. Okay. On the other hand, you say that if you decline to extend the protection under the Domestic Violence Act or under the Dowry Prohibition Act 1987, under 1961, then that will be a grave injustice to a woman as a whole. But it does not mean that we are validating the marriage which happens to be void. And that decision can be confined only in connection with the domestic violence and the dowry harassment. If that balancing approach is offered by the court, I think the justice can be given. Am I correct? I hope the August Assembly will also agree.
Yes,
the legitimacy is a matter of succession. I just wanted to tell you. Everybody says that don't make the property to your children, make the children as the property, as the case may be. All these statements, philosophical statement, has no value at all. Everybody, for example, Emma Malini, her marriage was the second one. And she has given a birth to twins, I think so, as the case may be. It's okay, madam. She is not bothered about the matter of succession with the property earned by Dharmendra, as the case may be. That means only succession matters only in case of legitimacy. Otherwise not. Or only when the people are madly after the succession or the property, then this problem comes to us. Otherwise not. So happened in the case of MB Tiwari case. The person who got to prove that he is a son by or through DNA test, he just wanted recognition that I'm a son of MB Tiwari, as the case may be. So it is like that. Now the question comes before us is that even today, I'm just telling that by virtue of my observations. Especially in the religion, the concept of stepmother has been accepted, but stepfather has not been accepted yet. This is also one of the reasons why women are remaining single after they become widow, and they sacrifice their entire life for the benefit of their children, as the case may be. Now, slowly, concept of a stepfather is coming up. It takes time. I'm not telling that it is not at all there. It is very much absent, as the case may be. But slowly it is there. But in a general way, the concept of stepfather on par with the stepmother has not been accepted overwhelmingly in Indian religions, as the case may be. Now it is said that always no family is found to be very peaceful. It is said that marriage is a sacred relationship, but they say that some people say that it's a just invasion of our liberty. It's an invasion of liberty. Now, last month, I had gotten a PhD thesis for the purpose of evaluations. That is a matter related to the socio-legal status of a woman working in IT/BT sector. And it is said that as per the data, primary data collected by the researcher, more women or more girl who is working in IT/BT sector decline to go for marriage. They say that, why should I go for marriage? I may just become a lenient to the person, as the case may be. That's why it's, on the other hand, there are innumerable number of problems that can be faced by single women. There will be financial security will be there. Safety will be there. Now you mean to say that in a city like Bangalore, a single woman are being actually targeted. Sexual harassment will be there. There will be an absence of a partner who can share my feelings, with anybody. Not with that. There will be loneliness will be there. And you can see that motherhood can be said. Now you mean to say that marriage is not, as I have already made it very clear in the Indre Kushbu versus Kanimal, marriage is not a prerequisite to become mother. A woman can enjoy the mother even without marriage. And she can go for IVF also, in vitro fertility. Correct? Marriage is not necessary. Nobody asks how a woman becomes mother. And it's happening too. Or she may go for an adoption of a kid through the carer. I'm not inclined to go for marriage. So many people says that, and a single woman says that. There are certain solutions that is required to address the problem relating to single women. A separate law is required. Very recently, women organizations submitted a memorandum to Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi that separate law for the protection of, for extending the protection to single women is required. This is nothing but separate budget earmarking is necessary. So separate budget is necessary. That is what actually it is said. There should be national campaign for inheriting the property by the single woman. Women should also be wisely plan their finance, and they should allow the enjoy the motherhood either through sperm bank or adoptions. This is what actually happened. So a woman now, the present trend, the woman is enjoying the status of a single woman. I don't think that they have an aversion towards the men, as the case may be. I'm not of that particular conclusions. Nevertheless, society is subject to tremendous changes. Tremendous changes. Whether you accept it or not, the concept of single woman came into existence, and it may become a biggest problem in the days to come. Then how best we can actually address, that is all left to the state. Now it is open for discussions. You can ask the questions. You can also make a comment. Please let me make it very clear. Respect the views expressed by each and everybody. Okay. ಬೇಡ ಅಂತನಾ ಸಾಕು ಅಂತನಾ ಮುಂದೆ ಕಡೆ ಕೂತು
Sir, how about protection to single men, sir?
Single women, men na? You can explain it. Okay.
No, sir. What's your view, sir?
I don't think that. No, do you think that they are vulnerable section? You identify such status first. If they are vulnerable section, then I will give you the answer. Correct, huh? See, I need to make a reference to Article 15, Clause 3. By virtue of their sensitiveness, by virtue of their physical status, they need special attention. What Article 15, Clause 3 of the Indian Constitution says that nothing shall prevent the Parliament to make a special provision exclusively for women and children. This Article 15, Clause 3 is not equivocally applicable to men. Correct, Anapa? Correct or not?
Right, sir. Right, sir.
It's okay. There is nothing wrong in that. Anybody? Yaru Munira yaru? Kelbodu madam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can. You are from?
I'm from Trivandrum, sir. I'm from Trivandrum. Kerala. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Hello, sir.
Introduce yourselves, please.
Sir, myself Shah Iqbal from Maharashtra.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, just before 2 days, Parliament has passed 2 bills, that is regarding surrogacy and IVF.
Yeah.
So whether can we say that there are some initiative has been taken by the government for
it is
protection of reproductive
that's what actually I'm telling you. Through the IVF, there are many forums are there. Many forums are there. That's why I made a reference to the sperm bank and IVF.
Yeah.
Now, even without marriage, you can. That means you cannot prevent a woman, legally speaking, I'm just telling. But some women are so entrepreneurs. They don't believe in, not everybody, few women, maybe may respect being single. Who knows? We have to respect even them also. Okay?
Yes. Yes.
Right. Surrogacy, strictly speaking, earlier we have also made a work on that. If you want it, I can just send some literature in that regard. It was commercially exploited. Please make note of it. It was commercially exploited. In order to prevent that commercial exploitations, there was a need for regulating the surrogacy.
Yes, yes.
There was now anybody can actually pursue the PhD under that. That's different matter, as the case may be. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Sir,
thank you, sir.
Does a child has the right to have a father?
Hello, please.
Does a child has the right to have a father?
Certainly.